Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to be talking about the post-traumatic stress disorder and how the ongoing stress and the fear, how they can affect our bodies. So if you're interested in topics that are related to our mental well-being, then keep watching. I think often we can really judge unconsciously whether the situation or whether someone is safe to us, or whether we feel comfortable around someone. And sometimes we would just have this feeling that maybe we just don't really like spending time with someone, or we don't even like to be around certain people. And maybe sometimes even we will refer to that as a gut feeling. So we have that feeling that it just doesn't feel right to be there, or it just doesn't feel really right to be around that person. And that will be perhaps connected to our internal sensory system that is letting us know unconsciously of certain things which are good for us, or maybe the things that are not that good for us, for our safety. So in those situations when we feel well connected to ourselves, in those situations when we feel like we can trust our gut feeling, that is really good, because it means, we feel also more in control, and in control of ourselves, in control of the situation, and we feel more awareness what's happening within us, what's happening around us. But perhaps in a situation where someone actually suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder, that's a completely different scenario then. So people who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, they are constantly being prompted by the inner sensory system about ongoing danger, even though the danger might not be there. But the trauma obviously is keep on taking them in the past. The trauma is keep on replaying for them, so their systems are always on high alert, and it's sending them the false alarm of like being prepared and telling them that this situation is not right for you, this person is not right for you. So eventually what happens, people who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, they actually try to ignore the gut feeling, that feeling that they have that, there's something wrong with that person, there's something wrong with that situation. And that as a result of ignoring this inner sensory system, they actually become numb. And obviously, if we can imagine the situation that, we have this really strong inner signals telling us that there's something wrong, there's a danger, and then we keep on try to keep on ignoring them, then eventually we might become really confused what's really dangerous, what's really safe. So in those instances, when someone is keep on ignoring those inner systems, that means they are not very comfortable with noticing what the body or what the mind is telling them. And very often people, they might just shut down themselves from those signals, and very often they might suffer from panic attack. Which panic attack is just a fear of fear. Panic attacks are normally maintained by the fear of getting a panic attack, the fear of the physical symptoms that come with panic attacks. So even though the person is consciously aware that maybe the fear is irrational, the fear of feeling those really strong body sensations is so strong that will trigger then the body responses, such as shaking, nausea, rapid and very irregular heartbeat, dry mouth, sweating. So the experience of a panic attack really originates in very primitive response to fear. And that could be a situation where a person will feel trapped, or maybe where they feel like there's some kind of threat to their life. So if we think about current life, our society, it might be that maybe person is giving a speech and maybe they feel at threat because maybe they feel like people are going to be watching them, they're going to be judging them, and maybe that's why they get this really dry mouth where maybe they can't really say even one word out loud because they get this overwhelming fear. So especially in those examples of people who suffer from PTSD, when they keep on ignoring their bodily sensations, the inner sensations about the danger, then eventually they cannot judge the situations whether it's safe for them or not. And this is something that we can refer to as self-regulation. So when we are well connected to our inner systems, inner sensory systems, then we can well regulate our emotions as well and our bodily sensations. So especially people who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, they really struggle with being able to self-regulate, and that's why very often to self-regulate maybe they will use alcohol or drugs. Very often they might also really rely on the perceptions of other person, and also very often they just use medication. And that's why very often people as well who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, they might become so numb to the internal sensory system, they might just become so dysregulated that they actually might not be able consciously become aware of maybe certain stress situations, but they might respond to this with, for example, migraine, or maybe they will just respond to that with an asthma attack. So maybe I will just give you an example of a person who, let's say, grew up in a household with many siblings where maybe the abuse toward children was normalized, the violence towards children was normalized, and perhaps even herself, she might not have actually experienced the violence as much because maybe she was the youngest one, but maybe she actually witnessed a lot of violence and verbal abuse. And then in her adulthood, whenever she will be confronted, whenever she's going to be in a situation, whenever they're going to be in the smallest confrontation, she will start developing migraines. So when she was a child, perhaps she learned how to suppress her emotions, how to don't react in those situations where maybe she witnessed abuse. So there was a lot of fear in her, but she needed to learn how to suppress that. So because that woman as a child, she learned to suppress her emotions, because perhaps, there was no space for her to express them, because perhaps if she would, she might be punished, she might be physically abused as well. So she learned to suppress them, even though in her body she still had a lot of, stress hormone that was circulating there. And now when in her adulthood, whenever she's in the situations where maybe they're gonna be the slightest trigger of reminding her of her childhood situation, so like the slightest confrontation, it might be enough to trigger her bodily responses that she had when she was a child. So again, there's gonna be a lot of stress hormones circulating around her body. So eventually, obviously, something needs to happen with this excess of the stress hormone, and if she's not expressing her emotions, if she's keeping everything in, then that the body then somatizes everything, and therefore people who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, very often they actually suffer from many unexplained body conditions. So it could be like a back problem, which is very common, neck pain, digestive problems, fibromyalgia, migraines, and different forms of asthma. So therefore, I think it's really, really important to be able to have a better understanding of, what post-traumatic stress disorder is, and also to be able to create these safe spaces where people who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder can come and feel safe enough to actually open up and start working on the trauma. So yeah, thank you for watching, and if you like the video, then please like it, subscribe. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, then just please leave them down below, and yeah, see you next one. Bye.